So, with thousands of KZN flood victims still living in community halls and churches after the floods, the government has not yet actually revealed some kind of clearer plan for their resettlement. Many of the families have lost their loved ones, their homes, their livelihoods, and so much more, and are officially deemed displaced. To help us unpack what government's plans look like at this stage of the recovery efforts, let's bring in KZN's Human Settlements MEC, Jomo Sibiya, who joins us via our video link this morning. And MEC, it's great to see you. Thanks so much indeed for your time. You know, there was no contestation about the mammoth task that lay ahead of the government that you form a part of. But I guess, you know, as the dust begins to settle, so to speak, a whole lot more questions are now coming to the fore about what the plan is for those who are still in community halls and churches more specifically. As a start, have you been able to identify perhaps the land where you're going to erect some kind of temporary structure for these people?
Thank you very much, my brother. Good morning to you and good morning to the viewers. Yes, indeed, it's a mammoth task, I must say, as you have said. Now we've moved beyond the theory kind of doing our work. We are in a practical stage where we are in an implementation stage. We have indeed identified quite a number of pockets of lands within eThekwini. Last week, we had a meeting with the Minister of Human Settlements and the Minister of Public Works at international level. Both of them were down in Devon. Our meeting was very crucial because it was exactly to identify what governments own. What is the land that is owned by government in the area of eThekwini, by provincial government and by the national government and the municipality? We're able to make sure that we identify quite a number of pockets of lands. We're no longer now talking about identifying. We have moved beyond that. We have also done some assessment in quite a number of those sites to make sure that when we resettle people or relocate people to those pockets of land, but they are suitable for them to use them, or they are suitable to be used for building of temporary shelters. The people that we are prioritizing are the people indeed, as we have said, are the ones that are in all churches, the ones that are in with their neighbors, with their relatives, because we need to remove them to go and start their lives back again, to start recycling, to start building their lives back. So we have done that part. We have started already on the ground to build it. The President pronounced and the Premier about 10 days back that we must start on Friday. Indeed, we started on Friday. The only thing that happened is that it rained. It started to rain on Saturday. It rained heavily on Saturday. It rained heavily on Sunday up until Monday. It only stopped raining on yesterday, where we had to continue with our work. So we lost that 3 days, which was beyond our control. Obviously, we are building some decent temporary structures. It's not like to dehumanize our people. It's decent temporary structures where even myself, I can go in and sleep there, because I always ask the question that whatever that we give our people, it should be something that myself personally should be something that I can use as well. So we are on that path now.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And, you know, it's also taking place in a context where I'm sure you'll admit, MEC, that there is a level of distrust among, you know, people who are watching government carry out these relief efforts, those perhaps who are waiting for the relief. How transparent are you going to be, or are able to be, about, for instance, how you're choosing contractors to build these kind of temporary structures? Because we know typically that's where some of the nefarious behavior creeps in.
A very good question. And the anxiety amongst our people, we note it. In fact, we will be very narrow if we don't understand how our people look at us. We understand very well and the reasons why. Even that question, why you ask it, it's very valid. But I want to assure our people that we've moved beyond the era where we must use and become very opportunistic during the times of disaster, or even use our people's money wrongly and mismanage money that is supposed to benefit our people. Government money is people's money, and it must be accounted for. We are going to account for each and every cent. Every single cent will be accounted for. Every single cent will be known where it has gone, what it was for, and who did it assist. We'll be able to account. We are using the AG, there is Treasury, there is the Public Protector, there is Human Rights Commission that we are working with. But the Premier is in charge as well, making sure that everything that we do is not done in a manner that will really put the government in jeopardy. The President has made it very clear to us. But ourselves, and the MEC in Human Settlements, my conscience is very clear. We want to make sure that we bring back the trust that our people used to have on their government. It's very, very important. So we must move beyond an era where we are known as a corrupt government, as MECs or politicians who are just in there for money. We are not there for money, we are there to serve.
Sure.
Ours is to serve our people and make sure that the processes that we are talking about, the procurement processes, the SCM processes, are overboard. Everyone can know what we are doing. We won't hide anything. We have started the processes already. We have appointed service providers. One thing that I said should be done, and the Premier and the President, we said we need to make sure that we appoint people who are going to be able to give us the service we need with speed. People with experience, because there is no time to wait. We are not on a trial and error stage where we are saying we're going to give a company that has just been opened 2 weeks back and you give that company a work to do such important and a very, very strenuous job. So we are appointing top quality service providers, but obviously we want our people to benefit within the system as well. So it's a clean process. It's a process that we want to make sure that it doesn't have any doubt on it, but people must see the work that is being done on the ground.
Does that mean that you're able to then make those service providers' identities public?
Definitely. We are government. We will make them, they will be in public. They will be in public domain. Everyone wants to know them. We'll make sure that they are public. We're not going to hide anything. But we are still finalizing it, but we've already appointed some because they are already working on the ground. There are those that have been appointed. Some were already within our panels. We're not just taking people who were not in our panels, but also on the other process, we'll be taking people who were not in our panels because we need to make sure that there is a mix of high quality and caliber so that we can be able to process this work. It's a disaster. In a disaster, you can't wait for long. You can't make people to wait for 2 months without having a shelter. Then it loses to be a disaster. It remains a disaster because we must be quick and faster. Efficiency and speed must be what becomes our hallmark.
Yeah. Another conversation that's been had over the past 2 weeks, MEC, is around whether or not people who are being relocated to these temporary structures should actually ever be allowed to go back to, the heart of where the disaster in the form of these floods actually took place. I mean, people who survey land and who watch these climate patterns closely say that, sometimes there are warnings that something like this may happen again. So with that in mind, as the Human Settlements MEC, is it a foregone conclusion that as a government in KwaZulu-Natal, you're going to prevent people from essentially going back to places where we know they may be in harm's way once again?
My brother, I always say this is a moment of truth. We need to tell things as they are, but also we need to be an upright government. Our special planning, the land use management needs to be effected. We must make sure that people build where they're supposed to build, not in floodplains, not in rivers, in river banks, not in steep hills and in mountains. So it's time that we change how things have been done. You will see all over the country people building everywhere where they are not supposed to build. During this disaster, in fact, you are quite correct. If people were located in areas that are suitable for building, we wouldn't be having this disaster at this magnitude. But because people were in floodplains, in riverbanks, and all those areas that are not suitable for them to be located in, that's why this disaster was at this magnitude. So we were not going to be taking back people to where our geotechs, our engineers have said, this one is not suitable, this one is not, and then we are going to make sure that we take them where our geotechs and engineers have made sure that they've assessed the area, that space, that site, it's suitable for building. We are going to be rebuilding only in those areas. We won't use government money again to build in an area that we know very well that it's flood prone. It's an area that will be washed away if we get another disaster. We are very clear about that. If we don't change it now, it will never change again. We need the support of the society, of everyone, so that we prevent all these disasters not to happen again. We won't prevent a disaster, in fact, but we must minimize the impact of a disaster.
Right. The MEC of Human Settlements in KwaZulu-Natal, Jomo Sibiya, speaking to us there via our video link.